Hello, this is Michael Bean. I am an acting teacher. This is your free lesson for myfreeactingclass.com for Tuesday, February the 9th. You can find all of our past lessons at myfreeactingclass.com, and you can find links to the school that I own and run in Vancouver, BC, and all of the other resources and things that are there. Today, we are doing self-tape review, and we're talking about camera technique. We've got a bunch of people who submitted self-tapes. If we have time, I also have a professional self-tape, something that I helped a student who's in my Monday class do recently that she was really proud of, and she said that we could look at that today. So we'll look at some of the shorter tapes and the student submitted tapes, and then if it's helpful, we will also look at Jess's tape. So here goes. Let's just jump right in, and you will use one of these videos to get us started and to talk about camera technique. So maybe we can look at Christina's first. So Christina is doing the practice exercise, which is this is something that if you go back just a couple of weeks, you will find a whole lesson about this exercise and talking through it. But for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, if you go to myfreeactingclass.com and you just scroll down, then what you'll find here, scroll, is Tuesdays with Michael Bean, on-camera badassery and self-tape review. Download the practice exercise, and if you were to click this link, this blue thing, it would download a multi-page PDF that has a whole bunch of individual lines of dialogue and instructions for how to approach that exercise in a way that might be useful. Also, the email here is info@myfreeactingclass.com. So here is Christina's first tape. So I'm just going to find a still frame in the middle if we can. Oh, sorry, Christina, unflattering freeze frames, totally my jam. Here we go. So this is, we've got a neutral background. She is in a medium close-up, so we're seeing just her head and shoulders. She could be a little bit closer. Now I'm up here currently in a medium close-up, so you're seeing just my head and shoulders, top of my head down to just below my armpits. There's an eye light. She has a small light reflected in her eyes. There's nothing distracting about her wardrobe. There's nothing, there's no big logos or anything. There's nothing distracting here in the background. So the focus is on her eyeballs. The last week, Christina submitted some tapes as well, and she's doing a great job of what's called moment before, which is just giving it extra time to tell the story and make big physical choices and tell the story before she got into the scene. And I asked her to just take some more risks and to try something that maybe wouldn't work. And so you can see she really tried some interesting stuff this time around. Right? So she's doing something funny. She's making this really clear, bold physical choice. Running on the spot never works. So if you ever wanted to do something like this, Christina, run in. Also, for comedy, yeah, you can probably get away with this, the pretend panting. If it was a film DB scene where you needed to be out of breath, what you would want to do is jump up and down a bunch before you start recording, hit record, and then come in actually out of breath. Because when somebody's actually out of breath, what they're trying to do is get it under control. And it's only actors who are like, I'm trying to pant. And so it's sort of an immediate giveaway. Now, for silly comedy, you're fine. I think the real issue right off the top of the scene is that we can't see her eyes. Right? And I think that you having your eyes closed or is probably really normal for you when you are exhausted, but it's very important off the very top of the scene that we be able to see your eyeballs. So there is Christina's first take of the scene, and the delivery of the line She's got a clear story to it. It's nice and honest. And she's making that like a bigger, bolder comedy choice. Here is her second one. Just looking at her with this tinfoil, or what looks like tinfoil on her teeth, makes my teeth hurt. But total commitment. Character lines, part 3, geek version. So pleasing. But so in last Wednesday's lesson, Candy asked a question about like, what does taking a bigger risk look like? And I was like, well, just put more of yourself in there. And with Christina specifically, I said, like, just have fun. Like whatever you do, record your lines, tell your story, make your choices, but then just do something fun. So I assume that this is something that she did because it was just fun for her. And you can see how fun it is. Here it is. Something that's worth thinking about, Christina, and I know I've talked to you about eye light before. I think it'd be a good idea to raid your house and find, any kind of desk lamp you can put right behind the camera and point right at your eyes to get a better light reflected in your eyes, like I have here. The other thing is that as in your travels, the next time you're in one of those, like, I don't know, Claire's or something, like one of these stores that just has like cheap accessories, getting a $6 pair of glasses that with like clear lenses, just the sort of decorative ones, and then punching the lenses out, because you can see that you're getting a glare here on your glasses. And especially if there's a light right in front of you pointed right at your eyes, you're going to get even more glare. But what's really interesting is that if you take the lenses out on camera, you won't even really notice. And if you go to sort of your favorite actor who has glasses, right, like you pull up a Harry Potter movie, and watch it, you would actually see, if you were going to zoom in, that in a whole bunch of the scenes, there are no lenses in the glasses for exactly that reason. It's just so ridiculous and fun, Christina. Like, thank you so much for sharing that with us. Was it fun to do? Good. Yeah, it looked like it. Right. And of course, having all that stuff stuffed in your mouth, like, really didn't work in terms of delivering the line, but who cares? Like, you were like, how much can I milk this moment before? Like, I'm just gonna milk that moment before a little bit more, even some more moment before. And like, yeah, did you overdo it? Of course, you never want to put in that much moment before for an audition. But every time you do something that's too far or too much, I think you learn. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I asked you after last week's sort of very successful tapes to take some risks and try some stuff that was a little bit crazier. So thank you for doing that. Let's look at the next one of these. Natalia sent us a couple of short tapes. This was the email. It was, I've got to pull it up, but it was like a secret agent. I guess they need a lot of Russian secret agents because Natalia has shared a lot of these. Has shared a lot of these secret agent tapes. A secret agent, secret service agent from Russia, covert, watchful, on the ball. Covert, watchful, on the ball. And so that was the note from casting on this. This was something that they sort of sprang on her last minute. It's a single line of dialogue. So this is a real audition with just a single line of dialogue. You can see that she has creatively put a piece of paper over top of what I assume was like a fancy doorknob here. Probably because she looked at it and she was like, man, that fancy doorknob is drawing a lot of focus, or I'm looking at the doorknob instead of looking at my eyeballs. Now, if if you were editing this in a movie editing program, it would be really easy to just take just this part, and just cut in to like the actual medium close-up of head, down to just below the armpits. You do that in iMovie. I'm sure it's possible in Windows Movie Maker. It's actually very, very straightforward. And that would, then I wouldn't be looking at this piece of paper. I would be looking even more, at Natalia. So that's a technical thing, but we've got eye light, We've got sort of, I assume, as neutral a background as she's got where she is. The wardrobe's great, right? Like Russian Secret Service agent, dressed professionally, hanging out in the airport. Like we, get it in 1 second. Now, all of that rustling, it says that she was reading a magazine or on some kind of device. Sorry, Natalia, there we go. There's a slightly more flattering freeze frame. All the rustling of paper, because it was right close to the microphone, problematic, especially because there's no need to look at the script there, because it's just the one line. I would say that what would make the most sense for this is to really like start with your phone in your hand, sort of have it just barely in the shot, glance at it, and mostly be watching the crowd. Because mostly it's about like, I'm on my phone, but really I'm alert and watchful, is what it says in the breakdown.
Объект на месте. Приступаем.
And our line is something like, he's at gate 3, we have to hurry. And so we've got this like utterly stripped down, like sort of very clean, clear one. And it is, it's like, it's very honest. I'm going to show you her second take, mostly so that you can see that it is almost identical to the first one. So so I've already talked about the framing, and the papers, in the script, which I think are distracting and also, make sound, when she puts them down. They're the alertness, the sort of like watching people go by. Something that might be helpful there is to cross frame, right? So if I was coaching this, and we were taping it, then I might say, start on this side of the camera and like watch somebody go to this side of the camera. Okay, that's not them. Back to the thing, right? And maybe you'd only do that once, but that would tell the story like even more clearly. Like I'm checking people out, and I'm just, no, I'm on my phone. I'm not checking people out. Yes, I am. Maybe there's something like that that tells the story a little bit more clearly. And here we are.
Объект на месте. Приступаем.
And so maybe it's like a little quieter or a little smaller, but basically the first and second take are identical. So especially if you're submitting a self-tape for an actual audition, it's this short one, you're doing a couple of different takes, it's really important the two takes be different. So especially because the line in this case is, he's at gate 3, like we have to hurry. What would make sense is like, okay, now drop the act. Like, so there's the one like really stripped down, like I'm so professional that even though I'm in a rush, like I'm not going to show anything. Boom, like Ice Queen. And then my impulse would be to go with the line, and the other one, or the second take, do a much clearer, much stronger, like I'm going to pack my stuff and I'm going to go, like let's go, get that guy immediately. Right, so that we get something that's got like the urgency. That there's more voice. The voice is so quiet that even though she's really putting something into it, it's very hard to make out what it is. So like we're just getting just the tiniest little touch of it. So it's the kind of so Natalia, when you watch this video, that is my opinion on those. Next, there's so many good ones. Okay, Amy sent us a last minute video that I haven't even watched yet. So let's take a look at that. And we'll watch it together. And then we're going to look at Candy did this fantastic exercise and sent us a whole scene, just like a 1 minute scene that's funny and that she really loves. So Amy, we went through one of her tapes the other day. This is a huge improvement. Like this actually looks like a professional self-tape. And I'm assuming that this is something that she's done completely at home, with her phone, and with her own equipment, but what we've got is a really clear eye light, really even lighting on her face. Like it's very flattering. Like what you will often find is that when you find good lighting, you will just look much more attractive because it will sort of match your image of what we're used to seeing in film and television, in still photographs. And so neutral background, like this is so well set up and just like a huge improvement, over her last tape. The good, strong, clear opinion, like right from the first moment. So we're seeing character immediately. Her eye line, the line between her eyes and what she's looking at, is very close to camera. It's not directly at camera, or it would look like she was staring right at us, and that'd be a little creepy. But it is so close to camera that we can see everything, and the camera's in so close to her that, again, we can see everything. That's exactly the point of a medium close-up.
Funny best friends. Oh, I thought you were, like only really small children have. But you're. No, okay, best friends, fine. Yep. Have you done something to the carpet lately? It has a lovely pattern.
Fun. So I'm just seeing this for the very first time, and this was true in the last tape that we saw from you, Amy, that you seem to really like pretending to respond to, or like responding to things that the other person has said without them actually saying it. And so I think that you might be well served to try a couple of practice scenes where you don't have to do any of that. But if you are, then you absolutely have to take more time to really clearly imagine and react, because there's just these sort of actor pauses that are happening where and then you're responding, and there isn't enough reaction, there isn't enough listening, and it's probably enough to even in your head say their line. Like, it might be that simple. And this can even be an exercise for those of you who are doing dialogue. I've seen it be very, very effective in class. When the other person is talking to you, to, in your head, as they're talking, say their lines back at them. So somebody's like, "Where are you going?" And in your head, you're like, "Where am I going?" Will often give you the reaction that you need.
I have a. Oh, sorry.
I want to finish talking before you jump in. Okay. So that's my thought on the pauses. The other thing is that in a script, you'll sometimes see what's called an ellipses, where the character trails off. And so in those cases, it's really important to make a distinction between if it is the character, if it's the character being cut off or trailing off, right? If the character is being cut off, and you'll see this in the script all the time, then you have to write the rest of the line and say the rest of the line. But if you're trailing off, then it's really important to to really find that trail off. And in either case, it can be really useful for the actor to know what the next word would be. So those little trail offs right now just need a little bit of work technically. And I love that you're being bold. This is exactly what I'm asking for, right? Like, I know you could do one line and just nail it, but you're giving me a little bit more. I hope it's okay that I cut you off. I wanted to finish my thoughts because I knew I would not remember them once we started talking. Now, I have at least one more video to watch. So if you have detailed questions, Amy, just know, please ask your questions now. And if it requires a more detailed answer, I'm going to answer it at the end of the lesson.
Okay. The question is that in the script, the character actually that I'm supposed to be responding to doesn't say anything.
Perfect. Well, then you need to take
Okay.
more time to see what's happening, whether it's lines,
okay.
whether it's not lines or not lines. It's like, so, Amy, I'm going to give you a chance to talk. Okay, so you didn't say anything, and now I'm going to respond. But if I go, Amy, I'm going to give you a chance to talk. Okay, you didn't say anything, so I'm going to respond, right? And if I don't leave enough time to just look at you and see that you're not talking, and or find whatever it is that makes me want to say the next thing, then it's just going to read as artificial. It's going to read as an actor thing. Does that make sense? So
yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah,
it's not a huge difference, but it's basically like a difficult imagination challenge that you're giving yourself there. The other thing is that at the end, where the character's sort of supposed to be terribly awkward and looking at the carpet, you didn't look down at the carpet. And so it would have been great to, again, take that time to be like, and awkward, hey, look at that, right? Like especially if you're referencing something in a script, I think it's important to include it in your eyelines. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you so much.
Okay. Phew. I want my notes to be helpful as much as possible. Okay, so Candy went and found a short Seinfeld script that she really likes. It's a little less than a minute, and she recorded that for us. So let's take a look at that. And then maybe we'll save Jess's tape for another time because, it's good and it'll totally keep. Candy also said, this one I found it really relatable because this is something that personally annoys me, which I quite liked. So the first thing that I'm seeing here, Candy, like we've got a good highlight, that's really working for you, right? Like it's little, but it's there. Your camera is still much farther away from you than it needs to be. Like unless you're doing a lot of your physical movement, and there's a touch near the end, but I don't think there's a lot. One of the advantages of either cutting the frame like with an editing program so that you could move in, or just positioning the camera closer to you, is that this very bright spot in the top right corner, which keeps drawing my eye, would not be as much of an issue.
What are you doing? What? Did you just double dip that chip?
Excuse me?
You double dipped the chip.
Double dip? What are you talking about?
Now, I don't know if you noticed, but this happens sometimes with phones. Basically, it's trying to automatically sense her face, but it's periodically getting the wall instead of her face. So there's the like sort of wobble in the white balance. It's a non-issue, right? They know that most people right now, especially, are doing self-tapes at home with their phones. If there's a little bit of wobble, like they don't expect it to be professional studio quality. Gosh, if it is, does it help you? Maybe. I know some actors who are like, oh yeah, like the higher the video quality, the more it matters. I also know lots of actors who've booked things just by taking tapes with their phones in bad lighting in their apartments. So just take it all with a grain of salt. Like in my opinion, those wobbles are just not an issue.
Dip the chip, you took a bite, and you dipped again.
So?
That's like putting your whole mouth right in the dip. Look, from now on, when you take a chip, just take one dip and end it.
Well, I'm sorry, Kimmy, but I don't dip that way.
You don't, huh?
No. You dip the way you want to dip, and I'll dip the way I want to dip.
Give me the chip! Give me the chip!
Good. So it's great. She's like grabbing for the chip at the end. You can see that because of the way that she did it, like this, nobody's grabbing for a potato chip up here because it looks like it's about her head level. So Candy, if you were doing this again, and it's been a while since I've talked about this, but one of the things you can do is you can use your own arm to give yourself resistance, so that you can wrestle over the chip. What you would want is one step forward, grab your own wrist, and just pull and push at the same time. So you're like, give me that, oh, I hate you, give me the chip, but I'm really just doing this. But it can look like I'm, without me trying to pretend to be pulling, so I can give myself resistance there. And that's useful for lots of different things when you're doing physical action. Natalia is actually recording an audition today, which hopefully we'll be able to see next week, where she's like a Russian mountain climber, and it's all action. Like she doesn't even have any lines written. She's got to like climb a mountain, and so she sent me an email like, how do I do that exactly? So I'm excited to see what she gets up to next week. So the physical action there at the end. Now, Candy chose this like particularly challenging thing, which is to copy an existing script. So the cool thing is that she sent me a link to the YouTube video, and we can watch the original clip from the Seinfeld episode. And one of the things that I want you to look at there, Candy, and I don't know if you've, I see you don't have your video on, so maybe you are not somewhere where you can talk to us today. But I would love to take like a single line of this and just workshop it with you before the lesson is over. Because what I want you to see is just like the total commitment that these people approach their scene with, right? That you've got such a great shape of this, and you really did take a risk. Like you put yourself in it. There were some great reaction moments in here, right? There's see, like so much physical behavior just kind of coming out of you without you having to think about it, right? Like right? There's so much animation without you trying to like control your face and decide what to do. And I mean, in a scene that's a minute long, it would be incredibly effortful to try and like plan out every little bit. So I think that you made just the right choice by sort of like putting yourself in this story. What I think you'll see or everybody else will when we watch the YouTube clip of the original show is that they are, so if Candy's like this amount of upset about it, the guy in the scene is this amount of upset about it, where like it is this style of comedy, one of the ways in for an actor is huge feelings about stupid stuff. And so I strongly recommend, trying this for yourself if you're doing this kind of comedy. So Christina's, like tape with the tinfoil on her teeth, that might be like Nickelodeon kids comedy, right? Like, or her panting, like maybe she could get away with it. The audience is like 5 or 6 because it's supposed to be like silly. It's supposed to make sense to like little kids who are like, look, she's supposed to be funny. But if the audience is a little bit older, like for this show, then one way into that ridiculousness is to have genuine feelings, but such huge feelings that we can laugh at you because your feelings aren't about like war or poverty or gay rights. They're about chip dip, and Candy's just thrown in the chat window that also it's taking place at a funeral luncheon, so it's taking place at like a totally inappropriate place to have this interaction, and so just look at the commitment, and this can be such a useful exercise for an actor. So I really want to applaud Candy for taking it on and recommend it to any of you, to find a scene, and just like watch it and try it. And Candy, I would love to see you try the scene again. I think that would be a really useful exercise to like, how far can you go with your like outrage at the chip? And can you think about the arc of the scene? So like, if you're imagining, that it's got like a peak point on it, like where's the moment of like maximum outrage at the chip? And so can you like start at a 5 and go to a 6, go to 7, go to an 8, go to a 9, and find like the 10 in the scene? I think that might be really fun. And then we can talk more after you've done it the next time about timing and flips, which are 2 things that are signature for comedy. Okay, let me see if I've still got it. Great, here it is. So here's the actual clip from the show.
What are you doing? What? Did you just double dip that chip?
Right, so he's not super high volume. He's not coming in like, did you double dip that chip? But the opinion about what has just happened, is just like he's kicked a puppy, right? Like the very high level of strong opinion about what's happening.
Excuse me? You double dipped the chip. Double dipped? What are you talking about? You dipped the chip, you took a bite, and you dipped again. So that's like putting your whole mouth right in the dip.
Right. So again, lots of intensity, not necessarily shouting, and he's not super high volume, because it's not Nickelodeon, but there's a lot of animation here, right? He's putting his whole body into it, which we saw Candy do some of. And so I just want to say, like, Candy, you're doing the right thing. You can go further. Like, what if you risk going too far?
From now on, when you take a chip, just take one dip and end it. Well, I'm sorry, Timmy, but I don't dip that way. Oh, you don't, huh? No.
Right, and so they're facing off against each other, like this is going to turn into a fight, which like it is, and the circumstances and what they're fighting about, make that inherently ridiculous. Now we can have a whole different conversation about laugh tracks, and the kind of acting that you end up having to do when you have a laugh track. It can be very odd. Emily Tennant, who came in and was a guest on the free acting classes a number of months ago, talked about how when she was on Mr. Young, they would do reads where like the table reads, and in the rehearsals, one of the producers would go, ha, 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 and everybody would have to like stop acting, it's like stop the lines for the duration of the laugh, and that was just something you had to train in. So very odd technical thing that happens with there.
The way you want to dip, I'll dip the way I want to dip.
Right? So look at this physical danger. Okay, and then there's just that sort of quick battle over the chip there at the end. So Candy, props to you for going for it.
Someone was crying, and I want to know who it was.
And I strongly recommend that exercise to anybody. So one of the things I really love here is that we saw different things. That we saw we saw like a short scene. We saw Christina do her single lines. We saw Candy like pull a scene from a TV show that she could watch and copy for information. No one of these exercises is better than the other. There you got lots of options. This is exactly what I want for this class, is to put you in charge and go like, look, whatever it is that you are drawn to, that you think would be fun, if you're putting it on camera and practicing, you're going to get something out of that. And it is possible to just sort of follow what delights you and find what you need. Now, Jade sent some tapes and I wasn't able to access them, so we'll look at those next Tuesday along with Jess's tape. We figured out our technology. So I know we've run a couple of minutes over, but Christina, Candy, do you have questions about that at all? Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you. Sorry, I'm in the middle of the cleaning. I'm at work, but thank you, and I really appreciate the feedback. I'll keep trying.
Of course, stay at it. Okay. Nice to see you, everybody. I will be here tomorrow. My plan is to do a lesson on use behavior to tell the story that the words aren't telling, which is something that has come up a number of times. And I just want to really zero in on that one thing of, can you use behavior to tell the piece of the story that the words aren't? Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, thank you.
Bye.